Novel title, Hail the King. Chapter 11, The Loss. Brook was struggling in the fight with the black-armored enemy. This other warrior looked very similar to the one-star rapier-wielding enemy that Fei killed. They both used the same fighting technique and weapon. The rapier was very fast when compared with Brook's double-handed sword. I will finish him, you go ahead and direct the soldiers to wipe out the remaining enemies on the defense wall. Fei yelled at Brook. Fei stuck his axe in between the two, twisted his wrist and the axe collided with the tip of the rapier accurately. The intervention from Fei forced the enemy to back off a bit and reevaluate his situation. Be careful, warrior, this bastard is tricky to handle. As the second commander of the king's guards, Brook was one of the top few people that had authority and influence at Chambord Castle. But because of the heroic actions of this Iron Man, who had his face covered up by a helmet completely, he didn't hesitate to listen to his orders. That's weird, I swear that I saw this armor somewhere before, Brook thought. However, there wasn't any time to waste, so Brook turned away and started commanding the Chamordian soldiers. Fei on the other hand was ready to battle this enemy. You're the one who killed 20. This enemy looked very solemn. He was concentrating and the energy in his body was circulating faster and faster. He was ready to unleash it at will. He was nervous after previously seeing Fei's single strike that took out 20 as he was not any stronger than his comrade. He had to give it all he got to gain a slight chance of surviving under Fei's axe. I can't fight him with pure strength. This enemy came up with a plan in his mind. His rapier suddenly shot out. The attacks were more aggressive and faster than when he was fighting Brook. Because he was thinner and smaller than Fei, as well as his weapon being lighter and sneakier, he was planning on using his faster movement and attack speed to tire Fei out and use a deadly strike when Fei shows a flaw in his defense. Fei had soon found out this enemy's strategy. His laughter was full of pity. This enemy was like a fallen shaman in the Diablo world. It was a human-like monster that held a blade in one hand and a torch in another. The fallen shaman was sly and cruel, both moving and attacking fast. When it was at a disadvantage, it would try everything to run from the fight. After Fei leveled up to level 5, his solution for monsters like these was simple, one strike and done. This strategy was no use against Fei. Any tricks and strategies were like potato chips in front of absolute power, they would be crushed easily. What was a barbarian? The god of close-range combat. Doesn't matter if it was strength or skill level on various weapons, barbarians will always be ranked number 1 in the Diablo world. If a barbarian would be defeated so easily by such a strategy, Fei would have died in the Diablo world thousands of times already. Again, only one strike from Fei had damaged the internal organs of this enemy, and he had to back off while puking blood. His rapier was shattered into pieces. Some pieces even plunged back into his body because of the power of the collision. Back. This enemy was terrified. He wasn't even close to defeating Fei. After that first contact, he knew right away that this man's axe techniques were even scarier than his strength. He had no chance in winning this fight. This enemy threw out a weird-looking hook. A string was attached to it so it could be used as a swing. After it landed on and was secured onto one of the battlements, he jumped down the defensive wall and tried to swing away from the battle and from Fei. Almost like a Spider-Man. However, if you already came, then stay. Fei was not going to give this enemy the chance to escape, he said as he kicked a double-handed sword on the ground. The sword traced the path of the enemy, fast as lightning. It pierced the enemy in the back mid-air and killed him instantly. The sword nailed his dead body to the ground under the defense wall. You're welcome, Fei said to the dead body savagely, as he was about to return to smashing all the remaining enemies. A few strange-sounding horns came from the enemy's base far away and soon spread around the battlefield. Enemies receded from the defensive wall around Chambord and returned to their base quickly, like a tide on the beach. The enemies retreated. The defenders of Chambord cheered in surprise as they saw what had happened. In comparison to the defenders, after seeing the retreat of their own soldiers, the remaining enemies knew that the commander had given up on them already and their morale sunk. After defending for a short while, they all threw down their weapons and went on their knees and surrendered. The soldiers of Chambord had quickly taken back control of the defense wall. But 200 yards away from the middle of the defense wall, the battle wasn't over. The first commander of the king's guards, a 3-star warrior Frank Lampard, was fighting to the death with an enemy swordsman named Landis. Both of their energies were clashing with each other. One red and one blue, the energies that leaked out of their battle had destroyed everything around them, including both the defenders and the attackers of Chambord, as well as the defense walls around them. No one could even come closer than within 10 yards of them. Fei had smashed a couple more enemies who were still resisting on the way to the battle. He squinted at Landis as he was calculating how he could help Lampard in this fight. The battles Fei engaged in had built his confidence. He was feeling invincible. However, Fei soon found out that this battle was way out of his expectation. After he got closer to this fight, he felt a huge pressure. The red and blue energies that were leaking out of the battle had left many shocking marks on the defense wall. Fei's instinct told him that he was in an extremely dangerous place. The experience from the numerous battles with the monsters in the Diablo world had trained Fei's brain. He immediately knew that he was no match to either Lampard or the enemy swordsman. They both were at least twice as strong as him. When Fei was thinking, someone in the battle had yelled. Master had commanded the retreat. I will let you guys live for one more night. After we conquer your castle, not a single one of you will survive. The Landis's energy started covering his body. It looked like he was covered in a huge burning flame. He forced away Lampard with a powerful strike and turned around, and chopped a few of the closest Chambord soldiers in half. Then he jumped off of the defense wall laughing out loud while the soldiers cried in pain. Fei couldn't take it anymore. Bastard! How dare you kill my soldiers to show off? He used the same tactics and kicked out a weapon on the ground. An iron spear flew towards Landis at a high speed, as if it was a huge arrow shot from a military crossbow. I will grant your wish. Swordsman Landis found out angrily that, other than the 3-star warrior Lampard, an ant like trash had dared to attack him. He roared with his body spinning in midair and stepped onto the shooting iron spear. He jumped back towards the defense wall using the momentum from the spear, like a fluttering eagle. Die. Exploding sun strike. A stream of red energy, appearing as intense as erupting lava radiating deadly heat, was shot towards Fei. Be careful. Lampard warned Fei. He was planning to save this Iron Man, but the excessive fighting had triggered the indiscernible internal injury he had from 10 years ago and caused him to puke a ton of blood and immobilized him. Lampard was surprised by his condition, but there was nothing that he could do. Let's see how strong you really are. Although the enemy was twice as strong as Fei, but it had ignited his fighting spirit even more. The pride of a barbarian had affected Fei's personality subconsciously, and he wasn't going to back off. His huge double-handed axe turned into a cloud of black shadow in his hand, and smashed into the exploding sunstrike with a massive amount of force. The collision spilled red energy all around and damaged the defensive wall even more. Fei was forced back 30-40 steps by the energy until he had finally got a hold of himself. Blood had rushed out of his mouth and dyed the heavy armor to the color of the blood. Fei felt dizzy and his body started wobbling. The soldiers and defenders were shocked. This collision of power had determined who was the stronger one. The invincible metal warrior of Chambord had lost.